ready to rumble.
Ooh, what is up, everybody? You are now tuned into the Casual Wrestling Podcast, where each and every week I break down the world of professional wrestling for all of the casual fans in the world. Sometimes we're joined by a guest. Tonight we're riding solo. Either way, you do your part. Hit the like and subscribe buttons, as well as drop a comment on the podcast. Let me know who you are and where you're listening from so we can give you a shout out. It is Tuesday, December 17th. Only footsteps away from Christmas. Only a few days until Santa Claus slides down the chimney and leaves us our presents. Have you been good this year? I feel like I've been pretty good. I feel like I've been good this year, good enough to break down the Saturday night main event that we saw this week and the Monday Night Raw that preceded that. I have a good show for you guys tonight. I will be in Dallas, Texas tomorrow, so we are up against a little bit of a time constraint. Got to start getting things ready for that, but it's not going to hinder what I have to say. We could get straight to it. Let's start the show by talking about the fallout of Saturday night. There was there was a lot to like. There was actually so much to like and a little to bitch about. Like there's always got to be a little bit to complain about. But let's talk about the good things first. Let's get the mushy stuff out of the way. The presentation on Saturday night, the way they presented that show to us, Saturday night main event, was absolutely flawless. From the entrances to the start of the show, the narrow path that the superstars had to walk down to get to the ring, the red, white, and blue ropes, WWE just nailed everything about that presentation. It felt so nostalgic, but modern, if that makes sense. They weirdly just, Triple H nailed everything about what this Saturday night main event needs to be. I think he nailed it so much that it actually gave a little bit of forgiveness to some of the missteps that WWE actually took on Saturday night. Like, can we talk for a minute about 2-hour premium live events? Because that's what this was, essentially. I know they don't want to label this a premium live event per se, but this had all the feels and all the makings of a premium live event. And let's be honest, 2 hours is the sweet spot. 2 hours is the sweet spot for pro wrestling. I'm sorry. Like, I think all television wrestling and all non-Big Four premium live events should follow the format we saw Saturday and just stick to 2 hours. It is so much more stomachable for casual wrestling fans to watch a 2-hour wrestling show. The pacing on Saturday was absolutely flawless. There were no overdrawn, drawn out, just dragging matches. Everything was fast-paced, straight to the point. We got straight to the story. We cut out all of the fat. All of the extra that you don't need in a wrestling match, we cut all of that out on Saturday, and we got 5 jam-packed matches into 2 hours. That's phenomenal, because on the flip side, we have what Monday Night Raw used to do, which was give us 2 to 3 matches in 3 hours, with just so much fluff, so much extra, so much fat on the side. Nothing that we need. 2 hours is the absolute sweet spot for professional wrestling. Give me 5 solid matches. I can take the commercials. Give me 2 hours. Just moment-to-moment wrestling. Now, if we want to go WrestleMania, if we want WrestleMania to be 2 nights, a 3-hour wrestling, that's cool, right? We dedicate that whole weekend to wrestling. That's our Super Bowl. We come to expect that. But we can't do that on a weekly basis. If you want SummerSlam to be 3 hours, I could vibe with that. I'm good with that. Royal Rumble, 3 hours, sign me up, because we can never get enough of that shit. But I don't need Extreme Rules in August to be 3 hours anymore. It could give me a solid 2. From now on, all Raw and SmackDowns, we're good with 2. Give me a tight 2, a solid 2. Even Survivor Series this last year could have benefited from a lot less fluff. Just give me the cliff notes of what I need to know, what stories need to progress, and let's get to the point. Let's get to the action. Let's get to the big spots. We don't have to have all of this fluff, all of this flip, all of this stuff that's not necessary to tell the story. Jam-pack everything we need to see into 2 hours. When I look back, I mean, I don't know how I'm going to go back to watching 3-hour Monday Night Raws. I don't think that my brain wants to comprehend that. When you start thinking about 3, 6, 9, 12 hours of wrestling on top of a 3-hour premium live event every month, those hours start adding up quick. It has been a nice little break to do 2 hours Monday, 2 hours Friday, every so often dropping a 3-hour premium live event. But hell, like I said, I'd be okay with a 2-hour premium live event. I think Saturday Night Main Event absolutely nailed it. I'm going to reiterate this. It's going to be a theme throughout the show. The pacing was beautiful. When it ended, I left wanting more of that. More Saturday Night Main Event. Even if this leads to these post-show social media segments, which I will go on record as saying I think are clever. I don't love them because as somebody who has other things to do, I don't love that I have to go to social media to finish the story that was presented to me on TV, but I understand it. I understand how clever that is. I understand the trick of ending a show and getting people immediately to start searching for more content. It's effective. It is an effective way to add a little bit of realism to some of these stories that could benefit from it. Getting online after Saturday Night Main Event and finding out that not only did KO pile drive Cody Rhodes and injure him, but that he got into a fight with Triple H, that's clever. I like that little touch. And I know I said last week, I was big, I kind of shouted from the rooftop, if Kevin Owens lost, I was going to be disappointed in the Saturday Night Main Event. But here's the reality. The way they booked that match actually worked. It actually worked out for the best. I think coming out of that match, Triple H accomplished everything that I want. Kevin Owens is now the biggest babyface in WWE. Now, I know, look, calm down, IWC. I get it. He's still a heel. I understand. But let's talk from a casual perspective. More and more on the internet, I am seeing this movement from the anti-Cody crybaby faction that KO is a martyr. I see more and more people with KO is right post. I see more and more people with justice for KO, and I'm loving it because this is when wrestling is at its absolute best. Is when you have the guy who's supposed to be the bad guy and people start to sympathize. People start to get behind a movement. Now you still have Cody Rhodes, and Cody Rhodes is Cody, and the Cody crybabies are going to gang up and they think he can do nothing wrong. They're going to cheer. They're going to love him. That's all great for Cody, but the optics have changed as far as Kevin Owens goes. And so he didn't win the match. He didn't win the world championship. Would I have liked him to? Sure, I would have loved for Kevin Owens. I think Kevin Owens is the right guy for Cody to drop to that would kind of spark an excitement in the universe. But if we couldn't have that, if that's not what we were getting, then I like the way we booked this. We booked this in a way that now Kevin Owens has options. He's got plenty of options in front of him for great storytelling. We now have an angle that looks like there's a possibility that Kevin Owens could be on a collision course with Triple H. That's wild to me. A few months ago, we were told that this guy's heart wasn't working. And now all of a sudden, he's in a shoving match with Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens versus Triple H was not on my WrestleMania bingo card. Now it is. Now we have to at least entertain the idea that this is being kicked around. And I'm all for it because I can tell you, no matter what cards on that, what matches are on that card, outside of Roman and Rock, Kevin Owens versus Triple H is the next biggest thing you could put on that card. It's equal to CM Punk and Seth Rollins. So you start looking at that card starting to come together. If this is even really an option, but let's say that they're just using a proxy. Let's say Triple H chooses somebody to fight for him and represent him. That could be fun too, because then you start running with who does Triple H choose to represent the management side of things, and you start to develop a storyline that I've always loved, which is authority versus kind of the anti-authority, which I think could work here because Kevin Owens, we've always said, is the closest guy to a Stone Cold Steve Austin. If we're running this back and we're going to book Kevin Owens like a Stone Cold Steve Austin, count me in. I'm all in. But there's just so many branching storylines here for Kevin Owens. We can go Kevin Owens, Randy Orton. Right now we have the possibility of Kevin Owens versus Triple H. We have the possibility of Kevin Owens versus The Authority. We could be headed towards like a Kevin Owens, Nick Aldis type match. I don't know it, but it just opens up so many possibilities. And then we always have the ability to circle back around to Kevin Owens versus Cody Rhodes again, because that package pile driver left the door open to, we need to do this again. Clearly KO hasn't learned. But I love the movement. I love the groundswell. I love to see the casual audience start to invest in the bad guy. That's always the most fun to me. But like I said, do I wish Kevin Owens won the world title? Sure. But I'm cool with the outcome. I liked it. I'm not going to die on this horse. I'm not going to die on the horse that Kevin Owens has to be champion, because I think this is leading somewhere. I'll be patient. I will reserve my judgment until we get to the final destination, that is WrestleMania 41, and we see where Kevin Owens, slides in, where Cody Rhodes slides in, where Randy Orton slides in, where Triple H. When we see how this pans out, then I'll give a real opinion on what I thought, these early seedlings led to. But outside of Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes, we got Chelsea Green winning the United States Championship. Shout out to Chelsea Green. That's exciting. That's fun. This is good. I mean, this is a roller coaster that I'm ready to ride. This is going to be fun. Well, I was right. I will say I was right about Chelsea Green winning the United States Championship. I was wrong. I said Tiffany Stratton was going to cash in. Still think that would have been the more exciting version of this story, but it seems like maybe Triple H is invested in giving Tiffany Stratton her proper dues and cashing in on Nia Jax, which, look, if we do this sooner rather than later, I think she can build up momentum for WrestleMania. What I don't like is the idea of some last-minute cash-in where Tiffy's forced to kind of pull a story out of thin air and make something happen rolling into WrestleMania. We need to start January. We're leaving December quickly. January, we've got to start putting the ingredients in the pot for WrestleMania. So I think, shout out to Chelsea Green. I think that story is going to be fun, but I think we're going to have to figure out what to do with Tiffany Stratton very quickly, because I do think that I don't want to see her thrown to the wolves. The rest of the card, though, I see everybody throwing around this concept. The rest of the card was a glorified house show. I don't know if I agree with that. And I don't even know if that's a bad thing, because house shows are extremely fun. But I think with Chelsea Green winning the championship and some of the other stories already kind of taking place, I don't think I can call this a glorified house show. I don't think moving forward that we should view Saturday night main events as glorified house shows. I think a little bit of that was kind of circumstance of a lot of these stories are locked in. Like, Kevin Owens was either winning or not winning. That was kind of locked in. I think that was a Survivor Series match anyway that got pushed to this card. So I just think, to me, I don't think Liv ever was going to lose. I don't think Gunther was ever going to lose. So I don't worry as much as I see the IWC overreact and go, glorified house show, glorified house show. I just don't think that's right. I think that the fact that they put the Women's United States Championship match on this card immediately discredits to me that it's a glorified house show. But I do want to talk about one observation that I had during Saturday night main event. And it's not really a direct reflection of the show as much as it's kind of a result of what I saw while I was watching. And this is something I'm going to double down on that I've said in the past. And I know that it tends to kind of upset certain people, but I still believe size matters so much in WWE, in professional wrestling in general. And I just believe, after watching Io Sky and Liv Morgan, which I'm going to say I thought was a great match. I didn't think there was anything wrong with that match. I thought it was absolutely fine. I actually thought I enjoyed it. But for two small women of their size, WWE is going to have to consider the optics. And I think there's just a world where WWE maybe should have taken one of those mid-card titles and made it a light heavyweight women's title. Call it a flyweight title. Call it whatever you want to call it, whatever name you need to give it that name and make it feel special. Because I think the two mid-card titles are reserved for mid-card wrestlers. But people like Liv Morgan and Io Sky, people who have kind of ascended above that mid-card title range, they can have matches like this, and it can be fun. My problem is the optics of this match don't translate once Rhea Ripley comes back out. Once we see Liv Morgan next to Rhea Ripley, we remember, oh, these are two small fish that were in the ring. Once we see Bianca Belair, once we see Charlotte Flair, once we see Jade Cargill, once we see Raquel Rodriguez, once we see Nia Jax, we have to remember, oh, there's a size difference, and size matters in fighting. And before all the Rey Mysterio cockroaches come out, because every time I talk about size, the first thing that happens is all of these Rey Mysterio cockroach fans come out of the baseboards and the cracks, and they immediately go, "Oh, it worked for Rey Mysterio." Let's get something clear right off the bat. Number one, Io Sky and Liv Morgan are not Rey Mysterio. Number two, Rey Mysterio is a once-in-a-decade kind of talent, and it was a once-in-a-decade kind of story. You can run the David beats Goliath story once every 10 years, and it gets great effect, but you can't do that every other premium live event. It's not believable. There is a reason they've kept Liv Morgan away from the Bianca Belairs, away from, it's the reason they team her up with a Raquel Rodriguez. She needs the size to kind of equalize the situation, right? There's a reason that some of these smaller talents like Io Sky are just going to struggle to get to that main event, to that World Heavyweight Championship level, as long as there's Charlotte Flairs and Bianca Belairs and Jade Cargills and Raquel Rodriguez and Nia Jax, because of the believability. That is the reality. They are not Rey Mysterio, and you can't tell that story over and over, not every week. You just can't do it. I'll go on record. Liv Morgan has exceeded what I thought she could do. Her promos have been remarkably better. Her storytelling has been absolutely phenomenal. But the reality is, when she gets in the ring with Rhea Ripley, without some magical storytelling, nobody believes she can win. And that's all based on size. Like, Liv Morgan in the ring with Rhea Ripley will never be a believable fight. So how do you solve that? It's real simple. Instead of introducing two mid-card titles, they should have taken one of those titles and called it a flyweight title. Then you have one mid-card title, you have one heavyweight championship, and then you have the grand champion that anybody can go after. I still believe this is the better title structure for the men's division as well. You should have your WWE champions, and anybody can challenge for that belt. Any weight class, any size, anybody can challenge for those two titles. Then right below that, you have your World Heavyweight Championships. And this is reserved for your larger-than-life superstars, your Drew McIntyres, your Brock Lesnar's, your Roman Reigns, the guys who are big. And you can bring Seth Rollins and some of those guys into that, but it's reserved for the larger-than-life characters. On the women's side, it's the Biancas, the Rheas, the Nia Jax, the Raquel Rodriguez, that to me. Below that, you then have a light heavyweight division in the men's, and you have a flyweight division for the women's, but you treat it with the same respect that you treat. WWE's tried the light heavyweight thing, but they pass it off as kind of an afterthought. WWE needs its Conor McGregor. They need that middleweight division. They need that light heavyweight division where not everybody has to be behemoth. I agree with some of the IWC that argue with me when they go, size is not everything. I agree. The problem is size is everything when size is in the ring. When you have a Drew McIntyre or a Brock Lesnar, size immediately becomes a thing. When you have two guys like a Chad Gable, like a Shinsuke Nakamura, they can put on tremendous, unbelievable matches, but they should be in a division that just makes it believable. If Shinsuke Nakamura right now was the light heavyweight champion, I'd have no problem with it. The reason Shinsuke Nakamura can't ascend to that next level is nobody in WWE is willing to invest in a guy in his size with that World Heavyweight Championship belt, because he's got to get into the ring with a Drew McIntyre. He's got to get into the ring with a Roman Reigns. And the believability immediately falls out the door. So I've always said, to me, the way you fix this, you add light heavyweight, flyweight, and you add, rankings. I know people don't love rankings, but I love rankings. I think the way UFC does rankings is phenomenal. UFC is non-story based, matchmaking, and it somehow always works out with great stories. Imagine if you took ranked style matchmaking and then were able to manipulate those rankings to create the stories you wanted, I think you could create so many more matches that felt like they meant something. But chime in on this. Let me know what you guys think about that. Tell me if I'm completely wrong. That's just something I've always felt strongly about that. My last little observation, my last little takeaway from Saturday night was, I called early last week. I said, Jesse Ventura, I wasn't sure how he fit into the show. Now that the show's come and gone, man, do we miss heel commentators? Jesse Ventura kind of sparked something inside my brain that I had been missing, that I didn't realize was missing from professional wrestling, and that is the just dirty, nasty heel commentator. Pat McAfee is absolutely great. His energy is infectious, right? We love how excited. He feels like one of us. And then Michael Cole is the GOAT. He's great, right? Wade Barrett, Corey Graves, they're both fine. But what we're missing right now on the table is just gritty, kind of heel, dirty humor that we used to get from the likes of like a Jerry King Lawler. That over the top. Jesse Ventura gave us a little bit of that at Saturday Night Main Event, and I didn't realize how bad I didn't realize how much I loved that. Like, we need an unapologetic heel commentator, someone that can put the bad guys over, someone who sympathizes with the bad guy's position, because that tends to be where my mindset is, right? Me leaning to Kevin Owens. We need somebody who is willing to put Kevin Owens over in this storyline, and Jesse Ventura tried to do that, and I was all about it. We need the modern day Jerry the King Lawler, and I don't know if we'll ever get that. Like, I wonder, did anybody else notice that when they were watching? Like, I wonder if Michael Cole even picked up on, like, oh shit, this works. Like, this, we are missing this in 2024. We are missing this kind of heel perspective. I hope that gets picked up on. But all right, so Cody's injured. That's the big thing coming out of Saturday night, right? And we learned that on Monday Night Raw. Cody's injured. KO package pile driver, post-show main event. Here's the thing. Like, we know this about Cody, and this is what I think. This is where you have the Cody crybabies who sympathize with him, and then you have the non-Cody sympathizers like myself who go, does Cody have to have a neck brace, an ankle wrap, a bruised titty, a broken wrist? Is that the only way for Cody Rhodes to be interesting? Because it always seems like Cody needs to be injured. He needs a crutch. He needs something to lean on to be the hero. He can't just go out there and tell the story. Now, from the flip side perspective, I love that they're selling a pile driver. I honestly think, like, I truly deep down inside believe that a little bit of this is Triple H with a big middle finger to AEW going, this is how you sell big moves, guys. Like, you have to sell some of these moves. Now, if we could just translate this over, Trips, if we could translate this over to finishing moves, you could change the industry. We could go back to a time where wrestling was great again. But this is a good start. We're selling this pile driver like it's taking out Randy Orton. Now it's taking out Cody Rhodes. Like, Kevin Owens starting to feel like a dangerous man. And I'm all for that. I really am all for that. I still think I will die on this hill. I think we're headed towards a Kevin Owens title run in 2025. Not sure when the hell it happens. Not sure how it happens. But I just feel like he's a guy who will inject excitement into the title picture. Now, having said that, talking about an injection of excitement, the opening of Raw last night was absolutely phenomenal, man. I don't know if CM Punk and Seth Rollins still hate each other, but their chemistry is out of this world. It is off the charts. I still wonder if Kenny Omega, Tony Khan, the Young Bucks don't sit at home and watch Monday Night Raw and go, man, if we had a 10th of the professionalism that Seth Rollins had, we actually could be the show with the ratings that are trending upward. We could have had Kenny Omega versus CM Punk, but they were just too many spoiled brats involved for that to actually come to fruition. So now CM Punk doing his thing in WWE. Now we're finally seeing Seth and Punk lined up against each other, and it's go time. No more. This has been a year-long build. This has been a year-long build-up of tension, and now we finally hit that point where we know WrestleMania is 3.5 months away. We can start the actual build, and this is going to be epic. On January 6th, on Netflix. That's chapter 1. And my theory is in chapter 1, this is not going to materialize into a match. Don't get too excited. These guys are going to show up, and from the minute they get to Monday Night Raw, I think they're going to be at each other's throats. I think when they get out to that ring, they're going to ignore the rules, and it is just going to turn into a brawl, setting up a suspension for one, if not both of these guys. I could see both of these guys getting suspended. More than likely, I believe it's going to be CM Punk gets suspended. He gets sent off. It looks like he's gone, and he's going to show back up at the Royal Rumble to ruin Seth Rollins' opportunity to win. And then it's go time, right? It's pedal to the metal. It is pedal to the floor. We are 100 miles an hour rolling into WrestleMania with Seth Rollins versus CM Punk, which is going to be the second biggest match on that card if the Rock and Roman line up, if that comes to be. But this is like, I love every second of this story. I am a CM Punk guy through and through. I truly believe at a lot of the elements of wrestling, CM Punk is the best in the world. I think he's the best at storytelling. I think he's still the best on a microphone, but here's the problem. This is I have to be realistic. When Seth Rollins takes off the goofy jackets and the lace and the funny shoes and things like that, and Seth Rollins just goes into pure Seth Rollins mode, I don't think there's anybody better. I really don't. I think Seth Rollins is the best in the world. When he locks in and he quits all the goofy shit, there's nobody better. So now you're talking about a story that's featuring probably the best in the ring right now, which is Seth Rollins. You have the best in the storytelling department, which is CM Punk, and you have two guys who can rip each other to shreds on a microphone. This is Wrestling 101. This is Storytelling 101. This is Psychology 101. For anybody paying attention, this is about to be the most pure wrestling story ever told. These guys are going to hit every beat. They will not slip. They will not miss an opportunity. They are going to build the tension to the biggest, most well-planned out payoff. And I'm here for it. Let these boys cook. Let CM Punk, let Seth Rollins cook, because the next 2.5, 3 months is just going to be absolute fire. We're not don't get it twisted. This is not the payoff of this story on January 6th. This is just the beginning. This is planting the first seeds of what's going to happen between these two guys. Now, Raw had a couple other moments this week. I thought that Ludwig Kaiser versus Braun Breaker was good, be it a tad bit long. When I talk about that 2-hour sweet spot, I don't mean 20 to 25 minute matches to start the show. And I get it. A lot of people will absolutely love that. I understand this is a part of wrestling that's very unique to me, which is I get bored. I get bored when guys wrestle too long. If we do 2 to 3 commercial breaks, by the third commercial break, I'm in the kitchen starting to cook, starting to do something else, listening, waiting for that cue that this match is coming to the end so I can go see the storytelling part of the match. I have to have stories progress for me to be interested, especially on a Monday Night Raw in December. When we know the title's not going to change hands, I didn't think there was any chance that Ludwig won that match. So to do a 25-minute match to me just feels like, all right, we got some time to feel, so let's let these guys cook. And good for them. Good for them, and great for the people who enjoy that kind of stuff. I hope you enjoyed that heavy dose of wrestling, because that was legitimately, from what I watched, that's good wrestling. That felt like good wrestling to me. Looks like we're running back Sammy and Drew, which to me is a tad bit of a yawn, but I get it. There's a limited amount of stories right now, and we got to kind of pace ourselves as we come into Netflix and as we turn the corner. We've got to work with what's kind of in front of us, and I think that right now for Drew McIntyre, this makes the most sense. As long as they don't fuck up Drew McIntyre's momentum, I'm okay with this, right? As long as we don't have Sammy pull out some magical win, the underdog is back. As long as we don't do that, I'm completely fine with running this story back. But to me, we got to start moving Drew McIntyre forward. We got to start moving some of these stories forward. Let's start prepping. Let's get the ingredients ready for WrestleMania. One thing I don't like, though, guys, and I've been seeing this going around the internet, is I've seen a lot of these content creators talking about there's a new faction in the works. There's a new faction of disgruntled employees, and it's Drew McIntyre, it's Seth Rollins, and it's Kevin Owens. And I am here to squash this rumor. I'll tell you right now, Triple H, don't do this shit. What we don't need is another, reincarnation of Super Friends. These are 3 great stories that exist individually. Drew McIntyre, Seth Rollins, and Kevin Owens. They do not need each other to get over with the crowd. We don't have to pair them together. So if you want some one-offs where these guys are in a match together, that's fine. But we don't need a team up. We don't need powwows. We don't need these guys, consoling each other after a match. Let them all cook in individual kitchens. And if the stories call for it, they could come together for one-offs. But let's keep these guys apart. We don't need a named faction. We don't need these guys hanging out together. It doesn't actually make sense. I've seen them being dubbed the anti-bloodline. That doesn't make the anti-bloodline right now is Roman Reigns. He is against the new bloodline. We don't need a third iteration of bloodline stoppers. Let's just let these stories be what they are. And when we get to WrestleMania, we'll have 3 great stories to talk about. It also looked like we were circling back around to Chad Gable and American Made versus Otis in the Alpha Academy, which to me, I'm all fine with. That's good. The only problem is I hate to be that guy. I hate to be the I told you so guy. But this is just another admission by WWE that the Wyatt Six are a pointless faction. That they're just in the way. That what they do absolutely means nothing. The fact that they got involved, they broke this storyline up, they did their little thing against American Made, and now they've moved on, and now we're just going to revert back to the story that was before that. The story that we all actually wanted before the Wyatt Six showed up. That's an admission that the Spirit Halloween Squad just showed up and messed everything up. And while we're on the topic of the Wyatt Six, they keep kidnapping people. And there's no explanation for what they're doing when they kidnap these people. It's starting to feel like a real Diddy situation to me, if you ask. Hey, Wyatt Six, what are you doing with these guys when you have them tied up in a room? Because they come back and they're perfectly fine. They just don't want to talk about it. I'm my ear on the streets hearing rumors that some of Randy Orton's baby oil's gone missing. What's the word with that, Bo Dallas? What's going on? Someone's got to explain to me how you can be babyface, because I keep getting told they're babyface, but you're kidnapping these people and you're doing all these heel shenanigans. So explain that to me, guys. But back to what really matters. Gable and Otis. I hope Triple H is able to find a way to kind of spark our interest, to reinvest us back into the story. Because there was an actually solid story there that was being told. I just hope that we can get back to, at one point in time, this story may have been main event quality. There was a point in time where you could have headlined, for sure, a Monday Night Raw, but you could have headlined a premium live event with Otis and Chad Gable, and most people would have been okay with it. So, let's get back. Let's try and get this back to that level. Like I said, we know we're getting now a tribal combat match for the Ula Fala between Roman and Solo. This, to me, this is the culmination of the Solo arc. This is the end of Solo's arc in this story. This is the put up or shut up moment for WWE. This is where on Monday, January 6th, Netflix, The Rock either shows up or he doesn't, and then we move on for what is WrestleMania, right? At this point, I'm okay. Throw storytelling out the window for The Rock and Roman. There's enough there. If it's as simple as Roman Reigns beats Solo Sikoa, he picks up the Ula Fala, puts it on his neck, Rock's music hit, Rock comes out, stare down face to face. At least we know the ingredients are ready. We can throw them all in a pot and let them start cooking. And WrestleMania 41, The Rock will be there against Roman Reigns, and we get the match that we've all been wanting. But we can't keep putting this thing off. We need confirmation at this point, so we can start emotionally investing into the idea that The Rock is back, because there is a high probability. I see a lot of people saying that The Rock's just not going to show up for any of this stuff, and that it could be Roman, CM Punk. It could be, I've seen all different iterations thrown around. Let's get our confirmation on it has to be. The fact that they're putting this on January 6th, this will be the final match of the night, and I believe Roman will win that match. The Rock's music will hit. We get a stare down, and that's all we need at this point. Fuck storytelling. I don't need The Rock to have been the leader of the other bloodline at this point. Just give me them in the ring so I can emotionally invest in this story. That's what I need from that story. As far as the other things that I'm kind of concerned about, the New Day story continues to be fun, but I need it to go somewhere. We slow drip this for so long that I can't keep being fed 30-second kind of snippets of what's going on in the New Day's life. Like the New Day's looking for a locker room, but they're not booked for anything on the show. So why do they need a locker room? That's weird to me. The fact that they got punked out by Rey Mysterio. There's nothing more fearful to me than the fact that we're doing the New Day versus the LWO, because the LWO is notorious for just shutting down people's pushes and then doing nothing with that. It's just Rey Mysterio's going to win. He's going to ruin the heel momentum, and nothing comes from that. What I need from the New Day is I want to see the Darkest Day. Like, I need new music. I need like a new goth look. I need new packaging. Like, now that the War Raiders, and shout out to the War Raiders, they won the tag team titles on Monday Night Raw. Now that the War Raiders have the tag titles, let's get Kofi and Xavier some steam. Let's start getting them some victories. Let's start seeing them do some heel shit and start picking up some wins and start getting momentum as we head towards WrestleMania. Because here's the thing. If we're not going to do the Big E return, which is like 50-50 to me, right? There's a chance we do it. There's a chance it doesn't happen. If we don't do the Big E stuff, then I'm all for the heel New Day winning the tag titles at WrestleMania and kind of keeping the lore of the New Day alive as the greatest tag team of all time, just this time as heels. That's what I need. I need that. But like I said, shout out to the War Raiders for winning the tag team titles. You know, finally Raw and SmackDown have legitimate tag team champions. I think that's finally a good thing, that those two divisions are now kind of free from the shackles of the Bloodline and the Judgment Day, and we can start really telling tag team stories, which WWE's been missing for a minute now. But the bigger thing to come out of this War Raiders tag team title is that I think we're going to see the second fallout of the Judgment Day. It looks like we're heading towards the demise of Finn Balor, and that's okay, because I think Finn Balor has outgrown the group anyway. Like, this, to me, the Judgment Day makes more sense as a Liv Morgan-led faction. At this point, I think that's kind of what the Judgment Day's existence is. It is to support Liv Morgan and Dirty Dom and the Rhea Ripley and all of that story. I think Finn and Damian can exist outside of the world of the Judgment Day, and they can tell their stories without needing that lore to move it forward. To me, that's the way I feel. But here's the last thing I want to kind of leave people with is I've taken notice of the IWC who have just started to complain about Liv Morgan, who used to be, mind you, Liv Morgan used to be the goddess of the IWC. They absolutely loved her. But now I'm starting to see them complaining. I'm seeing them on the internet talk about, oh my God, it looks like Liv Morgan could hold this title till February or maybe even WrestleMania. And we need her to lose that title. Like, I just don't, what makes the IWC happy? I complain. I get it, I complain. But I complain knowing that I'm nitpicky. I understand that WWE is thriving. I understand that Triple H understands this way better than I do. Like, there's a reason I call this show and this channel Casual Wrestling. Like, there's a reason why I point out the IWC misconceptions and the IWC content creators who just complain about everything. I know the big story on me is when I post the clips on TikTok, I bait people in. Yeah, they seem negative. Then you come in and the story is a little deeper than what I'm putting on the surface. But there are IWC content creators who just absolutely hate everything that WWE does. And they have to help me understand, because it's almost like the IWC doesn't understand they're the minority. It's almost like a lot of the IWC convince themselves they're the majority. I've said this is that there is a group of fans who know nothing about what's going on the internet. They just show up, they watch wrestling, and they love it, and they enjoy it. And whoever's the good guy, they usually cheer for, and whoever's the bad guy, they usually, they go against. But like, The IWC sitting here rolling their eyes at Liv Morgan, who, like I said, once was the statue of everything they worshipped in WWE, and now they want her to fail. And to me, it's just the IWC doesn't like mainstream success. That's what it is. And that's what I think tends to be me being casual and the people who listen to me being casual is we want WWE to succeed. Even against, like, if we have ideas that we think should happen and Triple H does something else and that succeeds, we're happy. To me, it feels like the IWC just, they loathe mainstream success. It's why they gravitate to AEW, because as long as those numbers are dropping, it makes them feel like they're part of the cool club, right? Whereas like casual fans, we just want good wrestling. Like the IWC wants to be hipsters. They go against whatever the casual fans like. And I joke from time to time, like I make jokes about Cody Rhodes, right? But I get the appeal of Cody Rhodes. I completely understand why people would be fans of Cody Rhodes, and I understand why Cody Rhodes is successful in WWE. I understand why Rhea Ripley wins so much. I like to talk shit about it, and sometimes I say she's overbooked, but in the bigger scheme of things, there's a lot worse you could do than putting Rhea Ripley front and center every week. And the fact that right now, I'm reading articles by members of the IWC that are talking about how bad CM Punk's promo was on Monday Night Raw just absolutely baffles me. Like, what did you miss there? That, to me, that was, the crowd loved it. And to me, you can take a good temperature by seeing what the crowd does and then just kind of looking around the internet. And if the IWC hates it, it's probably working. To be real honest with you, right? Like, I'll go with the example of Zoe Stark. I think Zoe Stark is a good example. The IWC seems to have latched on to Zoe Stark, and they go, we want more Zoe Stark. We need Zoe Stark to be successful. And I look at the product on TV, and I look at the product from the people who are around me who are casual fans, and they just don't respond to Zoe Stark. Not that there's anything wrong with Zoe Stark, but she's not getting the fan reaction. It is okay to like Zoe Stark, but it is not okay to not understand that Zoe and PFC just aren't connecting with the mainstream audience. So the IWC picks them up. They go, oh, she's hipster, she's cool. And they latch on to that. And they try to discredit the casual fan base for going, well, you just don't understand how good she is. And I think the IWC starts to exist in an echo chamber. There's literally articles that are written right now about CM Punk and how bad his promo was. Like, go on WrestlingInc.com, look it up. There are articles saying that was like a bad promo. I don't know what you want. Like, I get it. You guys watch AEW, and that's okay. It's okay to like AEW, but be honest about what AEW is. It's a failing company. It has a shrinking fan base. It has an owner who is self-funding and self-sabotaging his company. You have to come to grips with that. You can make up all of these analytics and all of these things and say it's better wrestling, but the reality is the mainstream fans aren't connecting with AEW, and that ultimately is going to lead to its demise. The fact that Dave Meltzer is on the internet telling people that AEW's in a thriving situation right now because their media deal made them so much money and their TV rights deal is so big, that to me is no different than we get these updates from our government telling us that the drones we see in the sky are just stars and airplanes. Like, we're not blind. We're not stupid. We're able to look at AEW shows and see 400 people in the crowd and go, that's not the way it used to be. And to me, that's an IWC thing. The only thing I kind of want to wrap this up with is it's just a little bit in defense of what a casual fan is. Like, I've always tried to give you guys my opinions while understanding that we're not always going to agree, and I'm definitely not always going to be right. I like to hear the other side. I like to think the things I say are to create conversation. They're to promote the other side coming back and telling me, well, this is the way we see it. And I go, oh, okay. And a lot of times I will take on 20% of that, that viewpoint, and it molds and shifts what I think is kind of a conglomerate of my community. That's why I say I love to hear the opposite side. I love Discord. I love Discord for all of those reasons that, like, there's different opinions and different personalities. And somebody will say something real wild. And at first everybody's like, oh, no. And then it happens and you go, well, maybe that person, they connect with this a little differently. And that's all fine. But at the end of the day, the thing I kind of want to give to my community is just enjoy wrestling. Whether you agree with what I say, whether you disagree with what I say, whether you agree with what's on TV, not on TV, you gotta just enjoy wrestling. Like we can be critical. It's fun. Like it is fun to overanalyze and be critical, but like we have to enjoy it. The minute you stop enjoying it, it's not worth watching anymore. That's my last little tidbit I'll leave you guys with. Make sure to check out this week's Slapping Meat podcast. I'm going to be on there dropping my year-end awards for their special they're doing. I'll be recording that later tonight. But that's all I got for you guys. Lauren is working right now, so she's not available. I'm going to leave you with 45 minutes of good wrestling talks, what we got through today. So make sure to like, subscribe. If you're listening on Spotify, there now are going to be Spotify polls. If you guys don't mind just answering whatever that poll is, it helps Spotify understand our audience retention and kind of pushes us out into an algorithm so more people can listen, more people can join the Discord. The theme of 2025 is going to be growing the community and getting back to basics. I said that a couple weeks ago, but as always, I'm the Notorious Nerdy D. I will talk to you guys next week.
Lay down in the squared circle and he's alive. Time is ticking but we'll always survive. From Texas to the big leagues we bring the sound. No IWC, only casual